Best Ball Mania has been open for 2 days now. I guess this is technically day 2. And there are some obvious edges to exploit. Some guys, no ADPs at all, that were actually getting drafted pretty highly on the big board. Guys, of course, moving around a lot here. We're going to talk about it all. I am already in a draft room in Best Ball Mania 5. And of course, if you're not familiar with the payout structure, it is an exciting one this year because they'll be minting about 20 people with $100,000 or more. You can see all the prizes on here, including the wacky loss number in 6th place. But of course, a great prize pool here for you guys to be getting in and building your bankroll in the world of best ball. A deliberate effort by Underdog to get some more people, some more money. I think very cool to see for BBM 5. We'll be drafting in it every Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. here on Splash Play. That is the promise now that BBM 5 is open. Got some GMs here. Got some what's good. Early birds getting the worm. Indeed, a lot of early birds. And rest in peace, Zay Jones. Yes, thankfully, the Jaguars have done the thing that we were hoping they would do and done it bright and early. Zay Jones is cut, so you are now getting fully unencumbered Brian Thomas Jr. and equally fully unencumbered Gabe Davis. They're both going to be able to run free outside with, of course, Christian Kirk taking up all the slot targets, Evan Ingram, all the underneath stuff. The big bet to make to me and that Jags offense still remains Brian Thomas being a guy that scores a lot of touchdowns, but moving the ball upfield, being a guy who's going to run good routes, get the chunk plays, 5 yards, 10 yards here and there. That's not Brian Thomas's game. It's probably going to be the game of Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram the most, and then we'll see what Gabe and what Brian Thomas do, and if maybe Brian Thomas can expand his route tree in that offense, but I don't tend to think he will. All right, Justin Jefferson would have been a fun pick for me. Do like him a lot there. Jamar Chase, not one of my favorites, but he's at pick 5, and we're going to take him here. Bummer. Really thought I could get Jefferson at 5 and then could also start to build up my J.J. McCarthy stuff. Of course, J.J. McCarthy, the new QB for the Vikings, I would guess he starts day 1, him being the youngest QB out of all these rookies coming in. There was a shot you could see, I guess, Sam Darnold start. They bring along McCarthy a little bit more slowly. But if you're trying to keep Justin Jefferson happy, apparently working on a largest contract ever for a receiver for Justin Jefferson right now, you got to think you go in with a young guy. You see what you have there and hopefully build that chemistry from day 1. Apparently, these guys are already texting, and Justin Jefferson has told J.J. McCarthy that, don't worry, you can still be J.J. You call me Jets. So Justin Jefferson, his name is not J.J. for himself. He is, in fact, Jets. So keep that in mind for all of you people who run into Justin Jefferson. You go, what do I call him? You call him Jets, apparently. GMs of the draft folks only. Yes, draft folks only here. Not a badge heavy room. There's something that somebody had tweeted out. I forget who it was. Maybe it's something Pete said on a stream. But I think it was somebody posting on social media. Apparently a lot of casual players or, lower entry players, guys that don't put in 150 entries, do draft in the earlier part as well. They draft in the early part, then they draft in the summer, but maybe not a lot as much, or not quite as much rather, in the May-June period. But thought that was interesting that there are more casual drafters the first day or two of BBM being open, maybe even the first week, and there are at other points of the draft period. So we'll see what we get. Why are you bummed to get Chase at 5? Boyd is gone. Better tight end, healthy Burrow. I mean, better tight end wouldn't be a good thing for an alpha receiver. I'm just not big on Jamar Chase relative to Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. I think those guys are singular talents with a lot of upside. CeeDee Lamb and an offense that's going to bring back Ezekiel Elliott as their likely lead running back. If not Rico Dowdle, that's a pass game heavy offense that added nobody of note there. You still have Brandon Cooks and Jalen Tolbert in the tight end room. So I like those guys more. Jamar Chase, you have Higgins. Higgins, the one thing I think that could be a benefit for Chase, that Higgins maybe not the most motivated to be going with the gusto that he would have. And I think we kind of saw him with the injuries, and I thought he played a little bit less hard last year in a situation where the team did not extend him. Now he's on the franchise tag, did not get extended, and the team hasn't talked to him about a contract in a year. So if you want to make the case for Chase, I think that's it. But I like other offenses more. I think the Bengals, losing Brian Callahan, not great for them. They promoted from internally, so maybe that'll help them out. Keeping continuity there, but I'm just not a big Bengals guy. Marvin Harrison goes at pick 11 here, by the way, so this is one of those rooms where he does come up even more. Kyron Williams sliding a little bit in rooms. Some cases to be made for Blake Corum. I'm actually going to stag Kyron here. This is going to be a draft where I get some guys I'm not getting quite as frequently. Do you like Kyron? Do you think that Blake Corum offers a similar skill set? Blake Corum also is one thing that he's good at. He's not an avoided tackle rate guy. 10% avoided tackle rate, egregiously bad for a guy in college. But he does get red zone work, and he's efficient with his red zone work. So that is something where if he does even take a handful, if he gets a Tyler Algier amount of work, seizing from the Kyron Williams Bijan plate, I think that would not be great for Kyron. So I think the markets are going to drive Kyron down a little bit, but I will take him on the way down. And actually do have that. It's exactly what I wrote up for the Spags rankings as well, which are coming out. Actually, they're almost ready to go, but I'm waiting for ADPs to kind of level out so I can actually move guys around and not have to change it 100 times within a week. But they're coming out within the next few days. Lee, please forgive me. Thanks for my review on the drafts yesterday. Please like the stream and become a member. Get access to a private Discord channel with Spags review at 10 lineups a month. Yes, shout to CLN to set me lineups, and that is a thing here if you are getting in early in the best ball process. Number one this week, you're getting my Spags rankings, which you can use on Underdog if you want, but more so, I think it's more of like an almanac thing you can read. You get also the data that I use, the key data points from SIS, points per pass, points per expected points added rather per pass and per rush. So for every player, you get that. In addition to me talking blurby game theory about these guys, how I view their overall outlook, and actually ranking them as well. And I do rank them pretty aggressively. I was going through yesterday trying to figure out where Jaden Daniels goes. I would place him in the 90s right now. ADP-wise, he's going in the 120s, 130s. So I'm hoping there'll still be some advantages when we push it out. But obviously, with ADPs, some guys don't even have one. Like Ben Sinnott, fucking Sean Siegel and Pete are putting out YouTube shorts and TikToks about Ben Sinnott. Ben Sinnott we got for free yesterday, and I've been on him since January. So I'm excited to see people coming around with it. But I do want to make sure I'm getting my info out there before everybody else just gobbles up the takes, and then they get credit for Ben Sinnott. This is the home of Ben Sinnott right here. How dare they? All right. Pick coming up here. Nico falling. Diggs moves ahead of him, which I thought was going to happen in the big board. Does not happen. Did not happen there. Does happen here. We have DJ Moore, Malik Neighbors. I have Neighbors ranked higher right now in my rankings, and I'm going to go Malik Neighbors here. I do not love the landing spot for him going to the Giants. I think it's kind of a crowded wide receiver room with guys that this current regime has drafted. You have guys like Jalen Hyatt. Wan'Dale Robinson has shown enough recently, and still a guy that does a lot of duplicative things of Malik Neighbors. He's not as good, not as explosive, not as good of a target earner, not as big. He's worse at everything than Malik Neighbors, but he still does enough to take something off the plate. Slayton is holding out right now. Bad idea for him because he's the most replaceable part for sure, but he is more of a downfield target, traditional kind of outside receiver. So there are guys there that the Giants like, and that's my big worry for Neighbors, along with the bad QB play. Just don't think Daniel Jones is a good pocket passer. His ability to handle pressure last year, giving up over a point in EPA per time that he was pressured. Not good. So those are the concerns for Neighbors. His talent, though, is the bet I'm willing to make. And as a wide receiver, too, here, when Nico got scooped, I think I would have taken Nico over him. I would not take DJ Moore over him right now. Neighbors should get over a 25% target share. I would hope so, but how much is it worth? The big thing that stuck out for me for the Giants and how they talked about things pre-draft was that they wanted a yak guy. They wanted somebody who's going to break yards after the catch. To me, that screams them using him in a lower ADOT than they should. He's a great downfield target earner. He's actually the best in terms of EPA downfield, even better than Marvin Harrison, though, by just like 0.1 in EPA. But I think I agree, like Neighbors should get a lot of targets. The issue is like if he's getting them at a 5 ADOT, like he can make stuff happen there. He can break plays, but that's not the best way to use him. And that's what I worry about the Giants. A team that is very happy to run the ball, plays, that Brian Dable style of ball, which I think is tight end heavy, not a lot of downfield shots generally. Like that's not where I want any wide receiver to be, let alone a guy that I like a lot. But that said, we're taking him here. Josh Allen, a thumbnail for any particular reason. I haven't put him on many thumbnails, so that's why. He goes here at pick 26. I would never take Josh Allen at pick 26. I would have him priced more in the mid-30s. I think that he and Jalen Hurts should go right next to each other in the mid-30s. And then I think that it should be Lamar, AR, and Stroud going in a batch right after that with a little bit of a gap before he gets Mahomes. I don't think the public is going to feel that way, but that is how I'm ranking them right now. What do we think of Dime's highest wide receiver yards produced? It was like 760 by Slayton. Neighbors transcends that. I don't know. I'm hoping so. If I'm taking him in this draft, I'm making the bet that he is going to, but that's my concern point. Yeah, it's like I don't think that he might not get the situation he needs to be as great as he can be. That's the biggest thing for me. Like if he's getting 7 targets at a 5 ADOT, like you're undercutting him so much, and he'll turn those 7 targets at a 5 ADOT into 8 to 9 yards. Like he'll get a chunk and he'll certainly break one here and there. It's not the way you want to see him play if he is that great downfield as he was at LSU. So I think for Neighbors, you got the wrong fit. I don't know. Besides that, though, we'll see how it goes. If you're betting on him, if you're taking him in a draft, like you're making the bet on him, I would say. All right. We have Kelsey here. We have Zay Flowers. We have Trey McBride. I think with how the draft panned out, I personally believe that Trey McBride's a little bit undervalued. We are getting a little bit bled out at wide receiver, though. I'm going to take Zay here just because I think this is a bit of a tier break at wide receiver. For Zay Flowers, adding a guy like Tez Walker doesn't change the equation too much for me. Tez is going to be an occasional deep ball getter. Zay Flowers, though, probably cemented as the alpha targeter in this offense besides Mark Andrews. So as long as he can be healthy, I suppose. Shout out to months of EV info and drafts prepping this fine Squirt Squad community. There we go. Hot best ball summer. Hot best ball summer even. Shout out to Tyler. I did not get a chance to watch his stream yet, so I can't personally attest, but I know that he and Tom Strachan, I'm sure, always brought their A game or will always bring their A game doing drafts Mondays at 4 p.m. and BBM as well. So another spot to plan your life around for this fantasy sanctuary, and Tyler on there. Check him out. Neighbor's going to average 150 yards a game with Drew Lock the second half of the season. I hope so. I hope that Drew Lock gets to air it out. If anything, Drew Lock has been curtailed a lot in recent years, where you watch him play in Seattle. When he played a little bit last year, he was not the same Drew Lock. He was a Drew Lock that got neutered a little bit. Like, you have I have never had a male dog, so I can't say how it would actually go. But how I presume it'll go when you cut their balls off is that they're a little bit mopier, a little bit less enthusiastic, a little bit more lethargic. I think that's what Drew Lock looked like last year to me playing for Seattle, but who knows? He'll be able to run in New York again, which he also did not do as much in Seattle. Gave it up. A couple years early on Lock. Look, I know the archetype. I know they're there, but I don't think Drew Lock is like, no pun intended. I don't think he's a lock to play or anything. They're paying Daniel Jones big money. The first priority for them should be to get Daniel Jones healthy, ready to go for week 1. I think he still can play week 1. I think it's, at the very least, I think he's not going to be on the PUP list, but I think he should be able to go week 1. And, if he's going, you want to commit to him because you have to eat a lot of money to get rid of him. So that's how I think they're going to approach Jones. But obviously, if he's as bad as he was last year, like, you can't go with a whole year of that. That was egregious. He fell apart. All right. 0130. Rashad White, I do expect to be a big faller here. Rashee Rice, I think already falling. I do have Terry McLaurin ranked above all these guys. I don't want to make every draft into one where I'm taking Jane Daniels, but I think it's going to be another one here. I have to start buying the Rashee Rice dip at some point, but I do think there's going to be one more dip when he actually gets suspended. I think it's kind of priced in now, but I imagine it's going to get worse for him when he does get there. I imagine he drops to that Marquise Brown area. So still an okay time to take the Rashee Rice dip. I just have been in the bag for Terry McLaurin. Why? If you're not familiar with the stream, if you're watching this here, hop into BBM. You haven't heard my takes the last few months. Jane Daniels is one of the best deep ball throwers I've seen coming out of college analytically, even going back to some previous numbers. He outperformed Jalen Hurts in what he added EPA-wise downfield. As a rusher as well, he's right there with AR, with Jalen Hurts, with Lamar, with all those guys, with Josh Allen and what he did. So for me, Jay Daniels is the big bet to have this year. He is this year's Anthony Richardson to me. And not as good of coaching is the one thing here where I thought AR got everything, got Shane Steichen, got Jalen Hurts' guy. I would say that getting Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn, not exactly analogous there, but I'm still willing to make the bet based on talent. I think he's undervalued because people have a hard time. He's skinny. I get that, or, skinnier than they'd like to see, but he's still tall, still a downfield thrower who looks downfield every time, takes big hits, but gets up from them, lands well for whatever that means, unlike an AR that lands kind of ugly in a car crashy way. So that's the bet on Jane Daniels, and it starts with Terry McLaurin. Let's see. Okay, drinking Margs a bit. I wish we were drinking some Margs, but unfortunately not. Also, one signing that happened, Michael Gallup going to the Raiders, thought was kind of odd. Doesn't really matter very much for anything, but only paying him $3 million. But that is one to note here, I guess, if you're looking for a Trey Tucker level talent, but older. Michael Gallup on the Raiders. Am I feeling Kirk versus Thomas? I do think they do completely separate things. I think that Kirk will probably have more yardage by the end of the year, though he and Ingram got to take a good chunk away from each other. They're playing in the same area. Brian Thomas, though, is like the touchdown hound. He's so good in the red zone, also so great downfield, and having Kirk and Ingram be good underneath. And also, frankly, have another guy in Gabe Davis that you maybe draw safety away from Brian Thomas because Gabe Davis is going to play downfield too a good amount. I think it's all good things for Brian Thomas. I hate the Jags. It's the biggest thing that I have to overcome. I just think that Trevor Lawrence, to me, not the most talented. I think he's more of a guy who looks like he's going to create value QB, but in reality, he's a system QB. For Trevor Lawrence, though, I think he got a really good situation in terms of them loading up on weapons. and he could just throw it up to Brian Thomas deep, and Brian Thomas is going to make plays. So I am going to go along with it, but Brian Thomas is coming up. So the Jags are a very public team. I feel like that's part of my issue with them. My desire for them doesn't match up with the public's fervor to draft him in rooms. So Brian Thomas might be coming up. And actually, if he's already at 62 in this room, he might come past Christian Kirk, I would guess. All right, Joe Mixon goes 64. Surprised to see that. I would have thought Joe Mixon would be a riser after what happened in the draft, getting Jawar Jordan there as the only competition, a guy who looks like a worse, lower pedigree version of Joe Mixon. I thought that would kind of result in Mixon coming up, but not seeing it so far, at least. 0140 here. Or we're going to try to kick Burrow. Calvin Ridley, I'm not the biggest fan of. Kind of like Addison more. But I'll get a share of Ridley here, I think. Okay, it's like, unless it's timed out and gave me Kenneth Walker. No, we'll get Ridley here. So we have 1 running back, 5 wide receivers, Kyren Williams, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, and Calvin Ridley. For having a running back early, this is not a bad group of wide receivers to start with. So I'm okay with it. We did not go 0 RB here, but we got a good wide receiver room. And guys that I think Ridley should come up a little. I'm surprised I got him at 68 here. People maybe not buying in on Tennessee, and that might be something that I can't imagine what's going to lead to a buy-in until July. But I think this is the kind of offense that's going to look really good in preseason, not even preseason, but like in camp. It's going to like, wow, like Ridley and Hopkins look so great. They're playing off each other really well. And it's a boy and Pollard and Spears are like really making great plays on air. I think they're going to make a lot of great plays on air in July. So I don't know that Ridley's ADP is going to come up a lot more, but I feel like it should. I think you're going to get frothy from it. It took 1 catch last year for people to be like, Calvin Ridley's back, baby. I'm going to invest and take him in the 3rd round. And now he's going to pick 68? I don't know about that. Tried to kick Burrow last night, and then Bindles and company took him. Those bastards. Those bullies is what they're doing. But yeah, look, happy to push Burrow generally. Did take a look here to see that there was no T. Higgins drafter in front of me. So if somebody takes Burrow, then they can do that, but they're taking him unstacked, and I don't know the value of taking a Burrow without Higgins and without Chase. Not the kind of move you want to make in a BBM, but we do have some unbadged drafters, and we'll see what they do. You don't know. Just because somebody doesn't have a badge doesn't make them a bad drafter. Duke RG, though, bad drafter. He's got 2 receivers, and he took Joe Burrow. Dog shit move by an idiot, but it's okay. We persevere, as always. And you know what we do? We salvage, and we take... we get the Tennessee stack locked down, I guess. Yeah, but why not? I think this is a decently priced Tennessee duo. So we have 6 wide receivers. I think we're done the position for a while. Team so far would have taken Joe Burrow there, obviously, but I'm not going to die without Joe Burrow personally. I think he's fine. He can beat Josh Allen in week 17. I agree with that part of it. So he does fit my thesis for taking QBs more than, say, a Tua would. But yeah, I'm not going to tilt over Joe Burrow as long as I get some other guys later. Kyren Williams, though, is my running back right now. Took him at pick 20. He's got a 17 ADP on him still. Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, and the new Tennessee duo of Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. So we are live for late QBs, live for mid-range QBs, and we will do some of them. I have to presume. I have to hope. And guys, if you're watching right now, or of course after the fact, please do hit that. Oh man, I'm clicking everything besides the thing I have to click. Please subscribe down below. Please hit that like button. New drafts Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. every day. Sometimes I'll be doing a double. Sometimes a lot of days though, just gonna be doing a single. We'll also be hitting DraftKings and maybe Drafters at some point, but definitely DraftKings either way. Check it out here. Of course, drafts every day, and we'll be talking about the news, talking about new things. Of course, I read everything. I obsess. I read, unfortunately, every tweet too. So we'll have a lot to talk about as the year goes on. New thumbnails every day. What a treat. 3 QB team incoming. Not an 18-round draft necessarily. The 20th round draft for sure, but I don't think we need 3 QBs necessarily. I could see 2 I could make the bet on and make it comfortably. And I know you guys threaten them. Hit the like button if you know what's good for you. Yeah, shake fists. Let's if only I had a bat here. If only got a football, because I'm just a guy that knows ball. If I had a bat here, I'd be menacingly hitting the bat too. Can't believe that guy took Joe Burrow. Really thought we were going to get a nice, clean Joe Burrow back to me. But no, the guy with 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. He needed Joe Burrow with no correlation. Ugh. I am a little bit tilted over it, okay? I have to admit. I think it worked out well to get the Tennessee double, but, you know, whatever. We don't need old Cincinnati. We need new Cincinnati in Tennessee. We'll be good to go. No Skyline chili, though. We all know exactly who Spags wants first, so he's... you may, perhaps. This is one of the things, though, where there is going to be a new portion. We got over 100 people watching live right now. There's going to be a mix of people that don't know my draft tendencies that are now watching the streams again. So you guys who are vets of the process, who've been watching me draft every day since the big board opened, you're going to know what I'm going to do on screen more than some others might. So no spoilers, I guess. Zamir time. Honestly, Zamir would not be a bad pick. Zamir is somebody I would expect to get steamed up. I don't think the talent is huge, but if Ramondre is going to keep going at 76, Zamir should be there with Najee at the very least. Lad McConkey up to 90. Don't know that he's doing a lot for you in half-point PPR, but whatever. People are going to do what they're going to do. All right. We got James Conner here. I do think James Conner a little bit undervalued. People worried about Trey Benson. I think he holds off Trey Benson. Do I want to stop the slide for him? Is he better than Zamir White? I think he's a better player. Yeah, I'm going James Conner here. My concern for Conner really is Trey Benson, I believe, should win the pass game role from the jump as long as he's not completely incompetent. Obviously, the bigger risk is that Benson earns a real role and then makes James Conner look like the old man that he is. Benson, an elite athlete, is the big thing going for him. But I don't think Benson should go ahead of Conner, as we saw happen in a draft yesterday. I think to me, Conner at 92 feels about right. I would have Swift much higher. I would have Swift higher than Ramondre. I would honestly flip Ramondre and Swift in terms of these ADPs right now. Pollard at 89 too. Fine. He should be pretty close to Tyjae Spears, but should be a little bit ahead with that contract. The first overall QB pick in Spags Room Splash Play selects the insert the best titties known. Man, I don't think that's necessarily how we draft QBs. Give me a Badge Bro stream room where everybody stays in their lane. That is nice. It's tough because, like, in this particular draft, I do want to be in normie drafts to start because they just don't know the ADPs and they don't know guys that don't have ADPs yet. But obviously, there's going to be a little more fungibility, a little more wiggle room in how it goes in some of these. All right, with 0260 going, need to get a QB at some point. This is a tough one for me coming up. Good RB pocket, though. Ezekiel Elliott, pick 100. Oh, that beat any expectation I would have had. Holy shit. Okay. Wow. Did not see that one coming. All right. We're going to go Jalen Warren here. 9-pick discount, 10-pick discount. So we have Kyron Williams, James Conner, Jalen Warren, because we have to get Ezekiel Elliott at pick 100. Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, and DeAndre Hopkins is our room so far. Insanity going on in this room. This is Willis in the draft. Yes, our guy Willis, of course. Willis is awesome. He's not awesome at picking guys who aren't Ezekiel Elliott. But Zeke, I really thought was going to go in the 130s. I am shocked to see him go in the 100s. This is an egregious price tag for him. But if you really think through it, if we're just going to assume that it's his role and Rico Dowdle is not going to take share away, I think Zeke being priced here is not crazy. He's kind of the Najee Harris of Dallas's offense, right? And I would rather, I think, have him than Nick Chubb, assuming Nick Chubb is going to miss at least the first month of the year, perhaps more. So I get it. It's not the price tag. It's not the place I would have put him. I would have put Zeke in the 130s and thought that was more than fair for him to account for the risk of him. Like, they got rid of him before. But I guess maybe that's the power of it. It's like, you got rid of him and it's like, we didn't know what we had. We're bringing you back for even cheaper. So I don't know, man. Crazy, though. That guy's definitely drinking marks. I hope he is. I hope he's having a great time. I hope Papa Chris is having a good time and drafting Ezekiel Elliott at pick 100. Wow. Only in America, folks. Only in America. We lost 15 live viewers all of a sudden. That makes me sad. What, are they not like the Zeke takes? I thought those were perfectly good Zeke takes. Romeo Dobbs goes the least exciting pick in a draft to me. Would rather have Wicks. Would rather have Christian Watson. Rather have everybody. Zeke was Ramondre Zamir's bad process with Brooks and Benson upside on board. Is it bad process, though? Because he's given himself a theoretical floor. He's got Kenneth Walker, Ramondre Zamir, Zeke. He's a little low on receiver. Only went 3 early, but did start with 3 receivers early and got 3 good ones. Got Travis Kelce and Mahomes. I don't hate his team. I still wouldn't take Zeke at pick 100 is the main thing. But I don't think it's bad process. So I guess you might be looking at a different team. I might have been confused by Alex's chat. But I generally like the balance, I guess, to try to make the point I was pushing towards. I like the balance of like, here you have your 2 guys, 3 guys who are going to start the year. We know they have a role. And then your 3 guys you're making a bet on later in the year that can seize a role. Ideally not from the same teams, but I guess you could kind of do that too and try to get an entire team's rushing year together. But that's how I try to approach it if I'm doing 0 RB especially. This guy, Crickstow. Oh, he's got Saquon, Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard. He has a weird room. Nobody really went pure 0 RB besides this guy who broke it up with Jalen Hurts. You started his run with he's playing the hits, though. Javonte and Devin Singletary. You look at all my 0 RB teams, I'll tell you what. A lot of these guys starting with Javonte and Devin Singletary. What if Zeke is the guy you need? Entirely possible. I don't want to pay a 100 pick price tag for him, but ADP price tag for him, but it's possible. He wasn't awful in New England. Got the volume, if nothing else. And it frankly took some away from Ramondre while Ramondre was still healthy. I know people like Ramondre out there, but that's not a great sign on either side of that equation. But I think Zeke last year might have been a plus CPA player. All right, we're not going to risk this any further. You guys know what we're trying to do here. We're getting Jaden Daniels. He's already up 9 picks in ADP, I believe, from yesterday. I think he should be in the 90s. Obviously, I was bullish on AR last year. He got hurt, but I think the ADP instinct was correct. To me, Jaden Daniels, I think, should be going in the 90s. Just with his upside. At a certain point, I assume people are going to smarten up on it. They might not. This might be one of my biases that I carry the entire draft period. But to me, getting him after Justin Herbert, after Brock Purdy, even after Caleb Williams, I think Jaden Daniels is a smash at this point. What I would for calling. I mean, it was pretty if you know the streams, it was pretty much telegraphed that I was going to take Jaden Daniels. Once I got scooped on Joe Burrow, I had Terry McLaurin. And I would say my second QB choice is probably also fairly telegraphed, though. A much less frequent pick for me. And we are now 2-0 and taking Jaden Daniels in BBM drafts. And I don't see that one stopping. Unless you guys are going to steam him up with me, unless the public's going to steam him up, I will happily take Jaden and pick 110 to 120 for as long as that lasts. You literally say that about every pick, every player. Yes, that is true. I think that's the bit, though. I think you're saying what the bit is. Zeke blocks better, which is why. That's true. He is a better blocker. But he also, again, so I was going to look up his numbers. That was what I was planning on doing. Zeke last year. Yeah, what I would expect. Honestly, I mean, maybe slightly better. But a negative 0.1 EPA per rush, negative 0.2 EPA per pass. Only an 8% avoided tackle rate for Zeke. So he did not show anything that was new in the bag. For comparison, Ramondre, negative 0.07 EPA per rush, negative 0.28 EPA per pass, 15% avoided tackle rate. So core stats, I would say Ramondre played slightly better than Zeke last year, but obviously it wasn't enough to win the trust of New England Patriots and what they had going on. So much they had going on last year. 1360 here. We have the bet on Jamar Chase. I don't mind Dalton Schultz as my first tight end either. But let's go Chase Brown's way. Grab the last good running back in this range. We'll see what comes back to us. Team so far is a 1-4-6-0. Of course, have to prepare for a world now. We're back in 18-round drafts after luxuriating in 20-round drafts on the big board. We got Jaden Daniels, Kyron Williams, James Conner, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown. Very good RB room by my standards. Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, still a good wide receiver in by my standards. Different wide receivers than I would usually have, perhaps besides McLaurin, perhaps besides the Neighbors, but that's it. I'm happy with this build. See what we get later on. So, on Daniels, you like Luke McCaffrey late. I like the draft capital. I don't like the player. I think that Dotson's a better player than him. I think that McLaurin's a much better player than him. I think that Sinnett's an equally good target earner as him. So to me, he's not the most exciting, but they took him in the 3rd round. So I will get some shares, but he's just he's a Nepo baby is how I view him. He's a name more than he is a player. But got drafted where he did, and he's a part. And I think that Jayden Daniels is, to me, a Shroud-like player. It's going to add value to the entire stack, where the players don't have to be that great, even though I think some of these guys, like McLaurin in particular, are good, and Sinnett are good. I would say that that's how I view it, is that he will make McCaffrey the best version of himself, hopefully, in this offense. Thanks. I love for entertainment purpose. Please, can we not root against my teams in BBM? Can we only get 150 shots here, guys, and a lot of them are going to be on stream. So I understand we want entertainment, but let's root for the positive outcomes. You saw me get slightly tilted about Joe Burrow. How much do you fucking need from me? How much do you need to hurt me? Daniels is going to rise for sure. I don't know if he's going to rise like AR did. Like AR, I think he was so toolsy that gets people into you because of him being slight, because people having weird SEC biases as well, or whenever they saw Jayden Daniels and, I saw him at Arizona State, he wasn't that good. It's like, all right, well, it's not what the NFL is now. These guys are going to stay in college longer as long as the NIL is where it is, because they can make good money, can be heroes, can get themselves the best spot and finally land somewhere they produce. So, like, the entire thing is changing. To me, it's a lot like a lot of people last year were, rookie tight ends can never hit. They've never hit. Why would you want to cape for rookie tight ends? And what happens? We have a good amount of them hitting, including Laporta, hitting in one of the biggest ways possible at ADP last year. I think for some of the QB stuff, it's a similar thing where people are like, he's 23 and a half and he's not, and he's only 210 pounds. It's like, this doesn't matter as much now. How you produced in college is going to be more one-to-one, and he produced in the SEC at the highest level that you could ever think possible. So Jayden Daniels, to me, I hope he doesn't get steamed, I guess, but wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't get the full AR rise. I think he's not going to go to like 70s, 80s. I think his peak would be 90s. All right, coming up here to squirt chasing. Yeah, we only need to be even more derivative. The other streams out there. All right, we have a 1460 here. Can take one more running back and feel pretty good about position. Would not take Blake Corum with Kyron. I just don't want to make that bet. Still, I'm a Jerome Ford guy. I think I will die on the Jerome Ford vine. He'll be our RB5 here. And I still think this is a 6 RB build for me. Team so far, Jayden Daniels, Kyron Williams, James Conner, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford. That rounds out the RB room. Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins. So we're going to have to make up the tight end. We're going to have to get one more QB in at the very least, maybe 2. I think I'm comfortable with just one more, though. My out on Zach Ertz now that Sinnett is there. Not out, but I think that Ertz is like, you get sniped on Sinnett, you take Ertz in the 18th round, so maybe the kind of draft they'll have to do today. I was high on Brendan Rice. You think he can beat out Q and Palmer for wide receiver 2? I wouldn't view it as trying to beat out Quentin Johnson and Palmer. He just has to be able to get into the mix. And frankly, those guys are probably going to play different roles, though. Rice played mostly out wide, played a little bit out of the slot. He has to beat out Quentin Johnson primarily. Palmer has moved in and out a lot depending on who is out in the Chargers depth chart. Like if Keenan Allen was out, he'd play out of the slot. If Mike Williams is out, he'd play out wide. So I don't really have a read on where Palmer is going to play. I would guess, though, he's now playing out wide because McConkey can play out wide, but he's really not an out wide receiver. He was much more efficient playing out of the slot. So can Brendan Rice beat out Quentin Johnson and Josh Palmer? I think he can over the course of a year. I don't know how I feel about him, though, heading into, like, he's got to have good training camp reports, really. So, to me, not a player I would take very often, unless I have Herbert, maybe. And I'm probably not going to have a lot of Herbert. I would take him in the 18th round if there's nobody else on the board I would like, but I think there's going to be enough guys. To me, Brendan Rice is more of like a 19th, 20th round guy, and he didn't get the draft capital to move up. All right, 1560 here. Love the Kyron fall. Corum not taking over. I agree with that. I think the risk is that Corum just takes a few goal line. Whoa, Minshew at 148 to the guy who also took fucking somebody at 100. Okay. This guy's just going all over the damn place. More power to him, I suppose. Blake Corum, I think, is making more sense the more that he drops just to cover this Rams backfield. But I like Marshawn Lloyd's ability to be the Tyjae Spears in that offense. He's going to be my RB6. And we're going to get tight ends and QBs in a little bit. You keep pushing it down. No way this can go wrong, right, guys? Give the team one more read here. Blake Corum finally ends his fall at 151. I think that Corum and Wright are not dissimilar plays. I would probably put Corum ahead of Wright for right now. I think that Corum has a less secure role heading into July than Lloyd does. I think Lloyd has already been talked up. LaFleur. LaFleur wants to use multiple backs. He said that he can be a pass game back from day one. I think it's not great for Josh Jacobs, but he's not going to take the goal line work. He's just going to likely take that pass game work. And I do think 30 snaps a game, 25 snaps a game, maybe. I think it's in the cards for Lloyd right now, as long as he doesn't blow it in training camp. Anyway, we have a 1660 here with Jaden at QB, Kyron Williams, James Conner, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, Marshawn Lloyd at running back, wide receiver Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, and DeAndre Hopkins. Can add one more receiver, need to add one more QB, and 2 tight ends at a minimum. 5 rounds to accomplish it all. We'll see what we do. Do your early BBM teams look like your last few big boards? Who has moved the most after draft? I've only done 2 BBM teams. This is my second team on stream here. I didn't do any off stream because I'm trying to pace myself. I would have done one last night, but it just wasn't there mentally. I think that they're going to look similar for the most part. The thing for me is going to be adjusting priors on guys like if Keon Coleman is out of spot, if Xavier Worthy's out of spot, if those are really the big 2 that I have to fully adjust my priors on. Vlad McConkey is there in the 90s. I'm probably willing to go there more. But honestly, with those guys, ADP is not solidified. It hasn't changed that much for me. I'm pressing my advantage with the stuff that I mostly believed in the big boards. That's still Jaden Daniels, McLaurin stuff. That still would be Drake May, Hunter Henry, like those kind of guys. JJ McCarthy, Vikings, like those things to me, still greatly undervalued. Yesterday I took Bo Nix in the Broncos stack. I think that's hugely undervalued right now, especially if people are going to be leaping up to get Gardner Minshew. But obviously, my takes right now, we will see. All right, let's just lock down Will Levis here. I don't see a reason to push this, and I think I could still get what I want around that. So 2660, our QBs are Jaden Daniels and a slight reach for Will Levis. Of course, to complete that double we have with Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, Chig honestly had a pretty good outcome here. Adding Hopkins, adding Ridley, inherently not good for Chig, but not adding another tight end was pretty big because there was a point where they were linked pretty heavily to Brock Bowers. So I think it's not a bad thing for how that turned out for Chig. Bucky Irving going at 167. I'd keep highlighting that. Again, nobody lost more work down the home stretch, and people didn't realize it than Rachaad White. Pass game work went away from him. They were working in a lot of Chase Edmonds. Even were working him in on run plays. They fell in love with Rachaad White last year. There's also a new offensive coordinator, so that's possible that guy thinks Rachaad White's the bee's knees, wants him in. But I think Bucky Irving portends being involved in the pass game. Rachaad White less involved in the pass game. And Bucky Irving, high avoided tackle rate guy, even though the athletic profile was not great. All the Oregon guys to me were undervalued in this draft, and Bucky, obviously one of those guys. Broncos and early Panthers stacks are so easy to get if you get sniped early. I would agree. Broncos to me, hugely valuable. We saw here Troy Franklin up to pick 131. Rumors out there, by the way, that the Steelers are trying to trade for Cortland Sutton, perhaps, or trying to trade for still Ayuk, Sutton, and Devontae Adams, all of which seem kind of odd. But that's the latest rumors out there that we have not talked about yet today. 2660 here. I think this guy's more valuable than the other guys left. I'm going to go up and get Ben Sinnott. Bennett at 17, Sinnott at 173. He's getting the Laporte esteem from guys like Sean Siegel. I think that is going to lead to him coming up. I've been a believer in Ben Sinnott since day one. As you guys know here, he was the tight end I said was my tight end 2 behind Brock Bowers, the first video we did. So for me, I'm not going to miss out on Ben Sinnott while he's still cheap if he's going to be going to the 150s or higher. So Ben Sinnott, of course, the new tight end. For our guy, Jaden Daniels. We'll give the team a read here. We got Jaden Daniels and Will Levis at QB. At running back, Kyron Williams, James Conner, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, and Marshawn Lloyd. Loaded RB room by my standards, especially with the early Kyron Williams. This feels like a 0 RB team, but I still got Kyron on top. Wide receiver, we got it early and then dialed back. Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, and DeAndre Hopkins. The tight end, we got Ben Sinnott. So Ben Sinnott, tight end 1, maybe doesn't feel the best, but people would have said that about Sam Laporte, tight end 1 last year. So we'll live with it. For entertainment purposes only, Spags which is top 3 in BBM 5. Thank you, Charles. that's the chat I was hoping for from you. Loving the team. Thank you to our guy Chunk. Appreciate you being here, of course. Chunk did a great job with me on stream during the big board. I'm sure he's going to have some great BBM drafts for himself as well. Guys, we've got over 110 people watching now, so quick plug. Subscribe here. Again, new drafts Monday to Friday every day at 11 a.m. I will be in a BBM or a DraftKings Millie, maybe a Drafters one, but either way, there'll be a new draft every day, mostly in BBM. So please subscribe here. Use that promo code SPLASH on Underdog. Get your deposit matched 100% when you are signing up on there as a new user. Mystery Pick'em as well. Check out Underdog. If for some reason you're not drafting on there, you saw this one because I put fantasy football draft in the title. You could be gambling on football in April. What a treat. Actually, you could have been gambling on it in January and February for next year. But now you can do it in April and May. The gambling doesn't stop. But probably a good time to game responsibly. But gambling, right? It's fun to draft teams and feel like you have an advantage. DK opens Friday. $20 buy-in? Fuck them. They doubled it? That's so annoying. When probably Google App Store. We're going to decide that soon. We're trying to figure out. So there's one new product we want to do for probably, of course, my sports betting app that I'll pull the plug up for while we do this. It's either that or Google Play because we have to decide. Basically, like if we go to get the app on Google Play, we think it'll help keep the revenue flat, which is good right now because we had April's our highest grossing month yet. Not enough to matter, but enough to hopefully get investors interested. But then the issue is like we could also build a new product that uses Probably's data in a fun way that we think can like change the business materially. So we have to prioritize. That's the struggle of a startup, I'll say, is like, I don't know. We only have one person doing all the tech stuff and me doing all the content and business stuff. So it's hard. You got to pick your battles. So Google Play might be the next battle, might not be. Google Play is the floor play, whereas the ceiling play is making a new product that we think would be pretty cool. And I'm a ceiling guy. That's why the show is called Splash Play. All right. 2661 here. I'm going to make the bet. It's not a bet I'm excited about, but we're doing this Jaden Daniels stuff, and we are low at QB, so we're really making a bet that Jaden Daniels excels this year. Going to take Luke McCaffrey at pick 188. He's got a 197.8 ADP on him. Makes more sense for me than anybody else. Teams, well, I'll give the team a read after we make our next pick. We got 2 picks left. Have to get at least one more tight end. I think we're talking about, talk about Underdog? Oh, DK doing promos. DK didn't do that many promos or rake back last year. Underdog, though, is doing the Gladiator program for best ball this year, which is pretty big, where you get a certain percentage back of all your drafts based upon how many drafts you're doing this year. So one thing to keep in mind here, if you are new to the world of Underdog, that they actually are making it more charitable or hospitable for the 150 maxers and such. I think, and I said it yesterday, I really think that Underdog this year with BBM 5, the big goal is just to get more money in the best ball ecosystem. With that prize pool, we're trying to have that many people winning $100,000 or more, that many people winning even 50K, 10K or more. And that in the rakeback program, it's like you're going to have more money this year going into, your war chest heading into the fall if you're drafting here. Jonnu Smith at 192 in this room is a tremendous discount. I'm shocked to see that. Like nothing changed for Miami besides adding Malik Washington, which can matter, but shouldn't hurt Jonnu Smith that much. John is going to give you zeros, or he's going to give you like a 15-point game. I don't think there's a lot of in between. But I think he'll give you 15 points 3 to 6 times this year. 3 to 5. Do any eliminators? Not planning on it right now. I'm just focused on the BBM on-stream stuff for now. My goal right now is just to get through doing a day, the daily drafts, and then when I hit August, I'm going to figure out what I have to do left to max out BBM and go from there. Jalen Tolbert goes, probably should get drafted with the Cowboys doing nothing at receiver. He goes here at pick 195. Javon Baker should also highlight less developed, more raw than Jalen Polk, but definitely in the mix in New England. I think that Jalen Polk is a safer play and probably the better play, but your mileage may vary. All right, we do get Chig here to complete our tight end room, perhaps. 2672 build right now. We have Jaden Daniels, Will Levis at QB. At running back, we have Kyron Williams, James Conner, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, and Marshawn Lloyd. Wide receiver, we have Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Luke McCaffrey. I think my first share, actually maybe my second. I think Pete made me take Luke McCaffrey, actually, ironically enough. Ben Sinnott, Chikakonkwo. Could be a third tight end build, could be a third QB build. Some optionality here. Need the schedule for doing any eliminators. I think that's wise. Yeah, what's the benefit of doing eliminators? I guess it would be that you luck box guys that won't be draftable, but you have 17 weeks. I guess, well, for the eliminators, I don't know. For weekly winners, it would matter more to know the schedule. For eliminators, you're just trying to build yourself like a solid floor ceiling lineup. But obviously, you do want it to hit a spike week for week 17, so that might matter. A shout out to our guy Yarshel Manda here, named for, I presume, the great Colts legend. But pleasure drafting with you today, sir. I appreciate it very much. And Marshall Yanda, I appreciate you too out there if you're watching. Clean draft today, besides the guy who took Joe Burrow from me. Hopefully that wasn't you. Actually, no, it wasn't you. You're Yarshel Manda here. It was not the Papa Chris popping in. What did the Papa Chris do with the rest of his team? Oh, no, he did. He wasn't the guy that took Joe Burrow. He's the one that had another weird team. Joe Burrow guy, did he add any correlation for Burrow? Nope, he did not. He also did not stack his other players, it looks like, and took Justin Fields. Yeah, 3-hole, the kind of draft you don't want to do would be my recommendation. And you don't want to do it not only because you took Joe Burrow from me and then you become my mortal enemy, but also because that just wasn't a good draft by the 3-hole. Oh, you want to know bye weeks for Eliminator? Good point. Good point. I didn't think about that. I did not play Eliminator much last year. I actually don't think I put any in Eliminator. I put like a couple in weekly winners, but it's different tournaments. And to me, like I was talking about this with somebody, actually the Capwise guy, who I think Neil Orfield did an interview with recently. He was like, oh yeah, like I love the regular season prize pool being a part of BBM. I've always hated it because like I'm not drafting like chalky regular season teams. I think for regular season prize pools, you're trying to build more of a median outcome team. You're not trying to have the big week 17 spike weeks. Obviously, that's not a priority. I think it's different styles of drafting. So to me, like Eliminator is a different style of drafting. It's all on a spectrum, but it's like it's different enough. Weekly winners is different enough. Like I think you should, in a perfect world, you're dedicating yourself to like full knowledge accumulation on one draft type and going at that. I mean, that would be my concern if you're like a smaller bankroll person, especially is like, if you're putting 20 in each, it's like, you're not really learning how to be a good drafter in any of them really. But that's, me being concerned for people and always being probabilistic about these things, obviously. Rather max eliminators than do one weekly winners this year. Interesting. People liked Eliminator last year. I do feel like people got more joy out of eliminators than weekly winners, at least from what I saw. But, I'm sure that can vary from different people. I think we should just take Daniel Jones here. I guess the other bet would be to take a Theo Johnson or potentially a wasted spot on a Darren Waller. I mean, a third tight end would help. But I think Jones can beat Josh Allen in week 17. If he recovers from that ACL tear, he's back out there being spry enough, and he's got Malik Neighbors going off for 150 yards. He can do it. So he fits the thesis. Daniel Jones, QB3. Final team here, 3672. Of course, new drafts coming up every day. So if you didn't enjoy this team, hopefully you'll like the one tomorrow or the one yesterday. The one yesterday was really good. Jaden Daniels, Will Levis, Daniel Jones, QB. So maybe we luck box a week 17 Giants Commanders game as well. Kyron Williams, James Conner, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, and Marshawn Lloyd at running back. Love that running back room. Chase Brown got cheaper somehow coming to BBM, and I don't think that should be the case. Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, Houston double with Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver, and Luke McCaffrey, the new Washington Commander at wide receiver as well. And tight end, we completed the Tennessee stack rather with Chikakonkwo, added Ben Sinnott as well. This year, Sam Laporta, according to some of the sharpest people out there like Sean Siegel. So we will see. Either way, though, guys, been a lot of fun here. Again, new drafts every day, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. So hopefully don't burn you out with one here. Keep subscribing down below. Hit that like button if you can. I'm a one-man shop here putting on streams. So your likes matter a lot. Your likes actually help me get seen by more people like you, which is really important as we try to turn Splash Play into a viable business, help to grow it, help to make it a more valuable platform to have new faces on, hopefully. That's what I'm trying to do here. So please subscribe, hit the like button, do all that. Underdog promo code SPLASH on there. If you're not drafting, you're fucking up. BBM 5, one of the most generous tournament structures out there to actually change your life in the world of basketball this year, to make big winnings, to do that for yourself. So check it out. Promo code SPLASH on there. Probably is my baby. You want to build your bankroll in best ball? Sports betting is a good way to do that using mathematically profitable equations from the top sportsbooks around the world, the winningest sportsbooks, the ones that have people betting $50,000, $100,000. They have to have the best odds to keep afloat. So that's what we use to find true probabilities and price bets for you on legal U.S. sportsbooks. So check it out for yourself. Probably.com/subscribe. Or check the pinned comment. I'll leave the App Store version in there. 7-day free trial on there. And if you leave 5 stars and a review, you'll be entered to win a guest hosting spot here on Splash Play this summer. Stochastic. I saw somebody sign up for MLB DFS Sims. You should do it too. If you're playing MLB DFS, you're fucking up if you're not using the Sims. Really, PGA as well, MMA, NASCAR, NBA playoffs. If you're playing any of that stuff, Stochastic Sims has a tool for you and the data as well to make it work. Shout out to all these fine folks that we put on the show. Spags rankings coming out too for all the people on this list. If you want to be on this list and get the Spags rankings, which have blurbs for over 200 players already done, probably going to be over 250 by the time that I get it out. So lots coming up there, including the rankings you can use on Underdog if you want. You don't have to. I would say just reading it's probably good too, but $5 here. Hit that join button down below. You'll get access to it through the premium Discord coming up in the next few days. Game responsibly. Do that too. And I'll be back tomorrow with more, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out. Glad to see the views coming up. Hopefully you guys will come along for this ride here as we do the drafts every day. And I will always promise to give you guys the most work, the most takes, the most data, put it all together for you, and you can make your decision about what you want to do with it. And that's what we do here on Splash Play. We'll keep doing it. See you guys soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Bye.